They called her the Queen of Action Movies. But when the cameras stopped rolling, Pam Grier was fighting battles most people never saw. At 6, boys who should have protected her assaulted her. At 18, it happened again. Later, powerful producers tried to trade roles for her body. She fought them all. And then in 1988, she met the enemy she couldn't punch, kick, or outwit. It was growing inside her, and the way she got sick would later expose an ugly, long-kept Hollywood truth. Pamela Suzette Grier was born on May 26, 1949, in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Her mother, Gwendolyn, was a nurse. Her father, Clarence, served in the U.S. Air Force. His postings meant constant moves. And with every move, Pam felt the ground shift under her feet. In 1956, at just 7, she landed in Swindon, England, where the world felt oddly gentler. They were raised to hate Germans, not us. She later said that contrast would stay with her. By 1958, the family was back in America near Denver, Colorado, and the welcome was cold. Long before that return, a trauma in Swink, Colorado, had already changed her. At 6, visiting her aunt's house, older boys, including a cousin, dragged her into a laundry room and raped her. A phone repairman opened the door, startled the boys, then quietly returned to fixing the line as if nothing had happened. Pam never forgot that indifference. The bright, chatty little girl began to stutter. Shame kept her silent for years. At 18, she was date raped, and the buried pain came roaring back. Back home, she ran into the daily humiliations of American racism. In England, her skin had been a fact. In Denver, it was a target. Buses didn't stop. Doorways closed. A pool declared itself whites only. Even in 1969, she and her father were refused the basic decency of trying on clothes in certain stores. But she came from people who outran oppression. Her mother's family had escaped slavery via the Underground Railroad to Wyoming. That lineage of survival fueled her spirit and later the women she portrayed. At 18 in 1967, Pam entered the Miss Colorado University pageant. Not to chase a crown, but to pay for school at Metropolitan State College. She finished among the top finalists, which was no small feat for a mixed-race young woman. Then, more importantly, someone at the pageant slipped her a Hollywood contact. Soon, she had an agent. That same year, she sang back up around Los Angeles. Stevie Wonder, Sly Stone, and even watched Jimi Hendrix's record. Then she took the leap west with little more than grit and a dream. The beginning was rough. Broke, hungry, anonymous. She talked her way onto a casting agency switchboard and learned the phones on the fly. She juggled jobs, hostess, receptionist, artist, nude model. From 1967 to 1970, she cycled through more than 40 gigs, anything to stay afloat. As a child, bullies had mocked her heritage. Black, Hispanic, Filipino, Chinese, and Cheyenne, and even hit her. She took self-defense and martial arts not just to fight back, but to feel whole again. That training would later make her action scenes ring true. Pam wasn't acting tough. She was tough. At 19 in 1968, she called that agent and said, "I'm ready." With $200 in her pocket, she moved into a 200 FD apartment with 2 other girls. Her first screen credit, was as an extra in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls 1970. She made $25, but treated that set like film school. Studying where to stand, how to listen, how to steal a moment without saying a word. Then came the machine that tried to tipcast her. In 1969-1970, Hollywood saw her as a body, not a person. Tribes, women, exotics, undressed and unnamed. In early 1970, legendary producer Roger Corman spotted her at a party. Tall, athletic, poised, and offered a role in The Big Dollhouse. Pam trained for hours, mastered weapons work, even put on 15 pounds of muscle. It was her shot. Right then, she learned the price some men expected. A powerful producer told her plainly, "Sleep with me, or don't get the part." He tried to assault her. she fought him off. For a moment, she considered quitting, going back to Denver. Instead, she stayed, and the fire inside her only burned hotter. Every role from then on became its own rebuttal. 71 changed everything. The Big Dollhouse, made for $125,000, earned $10 million. Mud wrestling scenes filmed over 3 days in knee-deep water after a storm destroyed the set. Pam did her own stunts. The hit spawned a string of women in prison pictures, including women in cages that same year. As a sadistic warden, she played brutal, controversial scenes she later said she didn't feel proud of. She felt tricked into nudity, but audiences couldn't look away. In 1972, The Big Birdcage cast her as a rebel mastermind. The production leaned on tactics taught by former fighters in the Philippines. The action looked, and sometimes was dangerous. Then came 1973, and Scream Black Will Scream. Pam insisted her voodoo priestess Lisa be strong and intelligent, not another helpless horror victim. She refused nude scenes and pushed for dignity in the story's spiritual elements. Then the role that made her an icon, Coffee. 1973. She played a nurse-turned-avenger after drugs destroyed her sister. Budget ₱1 million. Box office R million. The image that burned itself into film history. Razor blades hidden in her afro. A weapon she dreamed up herself. It was shocking, clever, unforgettable. Pam Grier rewriting the rules in real time. She never pulled her punches. Foxy Brown, 1974, goes further. After her boyfriend is murdered, Foxy exacts a ruthless revenge. The most infamous beat. She has the killer castrated, then delivers what remains to his girlfriend in a glass jar. Was choreographed with Pam's unflinching eye for consequence. The film took in around $4 million and redefined the female action lead. Not a victim, but a hunter. That same year, she shot The Arena, a Roman-era gladiator picture made for $75,000. Her second time partnering with Margaret Marav, she trained with real swords, endured bruises, and kept going. Hurt during a chariot chase, undeterred by it. In 1975 came Sheba Baby, where she brought real karate to a private eye roll. Audiences, however, were turning away from the exploitation wave. Critics called it Pam Grier light. Later that year, Friday Foster found her as a photographer pulled into an assassination plot. Still action-driven, but with bigger ideas about targeted black leaders and solidarity. Bucktown 1975 followed. She improvised a line about women's rights that played so well with test audiences it stayed in. It would be among her last big hits of that era. A pivot arrived in 1981 with Fort Apache, The Bronx. As Charlotte, a drug-addicted prostitute who murders cops, Pam gave a disturbing electric performance opposite Paul Newman, who earned $3 million plus 15% of the profits. Critics called Pam creepy in a way that was meant as praise. She could inhabit darkness as deeply as she embodied courage. But Hollywood began to tilt her toward damaged roles instead of heroes. In 1983, she took a leap into fantasy. Something Wicked This Way comes as The Dust Witch. After tough test screenings, Disney poured $4 million into reshoots, cut some of her work, and delayed release 5 months. It was a familiar sting. Magical worlds, it seemed, weren't ready to center a black woman. Television steadied her. From 1985 to 1989, she played Valerie Gordon on Miami Vice, a New York detective with grit and complicated ties. The military discipline from her upbringing and her family's service gave her authenticity and a badge. Meanwhile, she directed theater at UCLA under Roman Polanski, staging an all-black Frankie and Johnny because she believed fiercely that black actors belonged in every story. Her love life carried its own wounds. In the early 1970s, she dated Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, then Lou Alcindor. He wanted her to convert to Islam, wear a hijab, give up her independence. She said no. They split in 1973. Later, she dated Freddie Prinze, a brilliant, troubled comet. In 1977, he called her before he took his life. She tried to stop him. The line went dead. Grief stayed. With Richard Pryor, the line between love and damage blurred. She discovered cocaine residue in her own body, transferred during intimacy. She confronted him in 1976 and left. By 1980, she found him freebasing on the Stir-Crazy set. She begged him to stop. He wouldn't. Soon after, he caught fire in a freebasing explosion. She wasn't surprised. She had seen the fuse burning. There was a brief fling with Wilt Chamberlain, who later boasted in print of sleeping with 20,000 women and included private details about her. She called it what it was, exploitation. Then came 1988. Pam was 39, strong, sober, meat-free, running 6 miles a day. She was planning a family. A routine visit turned into a knife of a phone call. Stage 4 cervical cancer. Not stage 1 or 2. Stage 4. Doctors gave her 16 to 18 months. They handed her a thick folder for her affairs and told her to wait 6 weeks to begin treatment. While her body recovered from procedures, she went to work anyway on Above the Law with Steven Seagal. Wearing wigs, losing weight, facing chemo, she kept quiet. Her mother's nursing background helped her manage pain without growing dependent on opioids. The emotional blow was worse. The man she loved skipped her first chemo and then disappeared for 5 years. "Cancer shows you who your friends are," she said later. Her lesson was cruel. More loss followed. In 1990, still in treatment, she lost her dear friend Krista to breast cancer. Pam believed years of airline chemicals from flight attendant work contributed to Krista's illness. Grief deepened when Krista's son Freddie died by suicide not long after. He'd reached out in anguish, but also with threats. And Pam, afraid, didn't meet him. The news shattered her. She collapsed in a hotel as police arrived. One night, hollowed out and searching, she turned on PBS.